Good Saturday evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mark Collins. Well, today we've had some changes with Tropical Storm Ian. Not so much on the intensity, still that tropical storm with winds at 45 miles per hour, but there is some better news for us. You would think that it being a stronger, more powerful forecasted storm would be bad, but the good news is not headed our way. And even better news, it probably is not expected to make landfall as a Category 4. So what's the best news? Well, there's more separation between Ian and Jacksonville because today the track has shifted further west compared to the 11 o'clock advisory. So now it appears that the landfall will be a little bit later in the week and more north of Tampa Bay, and the Panhandle has to watch this very closely as they could be more in the target of a shifting track. The latest numbers as of 5 o'clock on Tropical Storm Ian, 45-mile-per-hour winds, and the pressure hasn't dropped off, but that pressure will likely lower as it goes over warmer sea surface temperatures in the Western Caribbean and the shear relaxes. Notice how tightly clustered these models are, threading it through the Yucatan Channel. And then as the models spread out a bit more, there's that uncertainty where Tampa is still not out of the woods yet, but the track has shifted much further west of Pinellas and Hillsborough County. Taking a look at the two most reliable models, the GFS has been superior than the Euro in forecasting hurricanes. That has been a trend that we saw all during last year. And even with this storm, it has been focusing over the Gulf of Mexico more than the Euro, which was over South Florida. But notice how this yellow European model is now away from Florida. So that's the big change here. Hurricane Center still being conservative, keeping it in the middle of the two storms. And this is Thursday, when earlier in the morning the storm was going to be closer to Florida with this track shift that keeps it over water longer. And this is the reason why now the forecast is for a threshold higher Category 4 storm over the Gulf of Mexico. You see, there's this current of water called the loop current, and that's very warm, and this storm could be passing close to that, which would intensify. But the longer it stays in the Gulf of Mexico, the more likely upper level winds, which would be unfavorable, could weaken it somewhat. And that's why the forecast takes it down to a 2. So you still see here, we're under the threat of potential high winds, but those probabilities have dropped from yesterday, and now a better indication of some high winds back along the Gulf of Mexico. One other additional feature was today, across most of the eastern half of the country, they launched an extra 100 weather balloons to sample the upper atmosphere, because what happens up here with the jet stream influences the path of the storm. So as this trough dips down, it will likely influence the path of this storm, and those extra balloon launches will go into the next model run that comes out late tonight. So although today the tracks have shifted further west, it'll be interesting to see with this additional data how that influences the future forecast runs. I would suspect that we'd continue to see a bit more of that track shift, but it will be interesting to see what plays out here at 11 o'clock with the next hurricane advisory. You can look at the track and more weather information at news4jax.com.